Hi everyone, in this video we'll be going over outlining, specifically in reference to outlining a standard 5-paragraph essay. However, the methods and steps we go over here can be applied to almost any type of project or work you find yourself doing, with some adjustments made here and there. Since this is the beginner's guide to outlining, we'll be talking about some of the more basic things surrounding the practice, including what an outline is, what outlines do for us, when do we outline, how do we outline, and lastly, an example outline template. So let's get started. First things first, what is an outline? Simply put, an outline is the breakdown of your papers or any project you're working on, main and supporting ideas in a logical or hierarchical order. Now, an outline can do many things for you, but mostly it can help you be organized. It can help you organize your ideas, thoughts, information, themes, etc. before you start writing. It can help you remain organized while you write, since it can keep your information in a coherent order or structure that you can follow along as you work. Or it can help you check your work's organization after writing during the proofreading and editing phase. Overall, outlining your paper is something that can help you keep all your thoughts and ideas organized as you work in any stage of the writing process. Now, when do you outline? When can you outline? An outline can be created at any stage of the writing process. You can outline at the very beginning before you brainstorm or do extensive research, just so you can have a general idea of how you want your paper to be structured. For example, do you want a 5-paragraph or 6-paragraph essay? Outlining at this stage should mostly be general, and as your process goes on, you can adjust it. You can also write your outline after you've brainstormed ideas for a bit and have an idea of not only the general structure of your paper, but also some thoughts as to what information you want to have and where you might want it. For example, which order you want your supporting details/themes to be in. Oh, and just in case, brainstorming is when you write down all your ideas on your project as they come to you. You can even outline at the very end of your writing process, once you've finished your work. You might construct an outline with all your basic information, such as your thesis, supporting ideas, conclusion, etc., at the end to make sure what you've written follows a logical order or train of thought. Doing so can help you notice any inconsistencies or missing parts of your work. You can use an outline almost as a checklist for what you've included in your paper, and it can help with the editing process. Now that we know some basic background on outlining, we can start looking at the different steps we can take to create an outline. There are around 6 different steps, but depending on what you're working on and what you might be referencing, there could be more. But since we are following a standard 5-paragraph essay, there are 6. The first step to outlining is to determine the purpose of your paper. You can ask yourself what it is you're supposed to be doing in your writing. What do you have to do or want to address, answer, explain, explore, etc.? You can determine the purpose of your paper by looking at your prompt or the question/guideline that has been given to you by the person who assigned you the work. Going over it with a focus on what you need to actually do should help you determine the paper's purpose. After you know your paper's purpose, you'll then want to determine your audience, i.e., who are you writing this for? Is it simply your teacher, or maybe your peers, the general public, an informed or uninformed audience? If you can identify your audience, you can determine your paper's tone and voice, i.e., what kind of language and words can you use? Can you be informal and conversational, or do you need to be formal and academic? And it can help you convey your information effectively. Do you have to include numerous details and supporting facts, or can you be more general, etc.? Then, it might be best to develop a thesis or main premise, idea, argument, etc. for your paper. In the outlining stage, your thesis doesn't have to be perfect or super strong, but it should be something you believe you can and will write about, and it clearly states what will be in your work. Sometimes in the stage, it's best to have a very straightforward thesis that you can follow along as you work. If you try to make it too complicated or perfect, or use too many words or jargon, you can confuse yourself and lose your intended main idea as you gather and present all the other information. After you've gotten these steps down, you might want to brainstorm, though technically, brainstorming can happen at any stage in the outlining process, since it is the free flow of your ideas and thoughts about your topic. But it is recommended that you start to brainstorm now, since everything you put will be in service of and more relevant to your thesis, audience, and paper's purpose. Now, a brainstorm can look like anything. It can be a list or a mapping of ideas, etc. But to brainstorm, you're going to write down any and all of the ideas you have or might want to include in your paper. It can be just your ideas and thoughts, or themes, quotes, details, statistics, etc. that you already know about your topic. You can include ideas you for sure think are useful, as well as ones that you aren't too sure about. At this stage, nothing you write down is wrong or unhelpful. And you never know, later down the line, something you initially thought that you wouldn't use might be the last thing you need to make your paper work. You can jot down, type out, or draw out your brainstorm. It is whatever works best for you. After brainstorming and writing down all your ideas, you want to organize them. You can do this by grouping and labeling related and relevant materials together under some broader idea that is addressed / contributes to / is a part of your thesis. Once you organize your ideas into those groups, it will be easier to put those groups into an order that fits your paper. When you order your ideas, you'll want to arrange your materials into different sections. You want to put them in a logical order so that each group connects back to the thesis and supports one another. You can order your groups in any way that you see fit, such as general to specific or vice versa, or from weakest to strongest or strongest to weakest ideas / supporting points. Though, if you go that route, you might want to have the weakest idea in the middle supported or sandwiched between your strongest points. And as a bonus, you can add or think of ways to transition between your groups. And once you've ordered them out, you can plug them into your outline, and then you've got yourself an outline. And here is an example of that outline. You'll have your introduction, which will include your thesis and introduce your topic / your paper's purpose. Then you'll have those paragraphs in the middle, which will be made up of those ideas and groups that you developed during the later part of the outlining process, during the brainstorming, organizing, and order phases. And then you'll have your conclusion, which will wrap your paper up and restate your thesis, main idea, purpose, etc., along with your concluding statement that wraps everything together. You can use an outline like this to plug in your information, or you can use it as a jumping off point and develop your own specific type of outline that suits your preferences, genres, projects, etc. And now some things to remember about outlining. It is never too late or too early to start outlining for your work. You just have to find what time in the process works best for you. Outlining can really help you throughout your writing process in tons of different ways. It can help you stay organized, focused, and on topic, as well as help you structure your project and decide how you want to order your ideas. Overall, outlining is one of the most useful writing practices that you can develop, and I hope this beginner's guide to outlining helps with any future projects or papers you may have. Good luck, everybody!